Okay, welcome to Book and Focus, everyone. We're going to kick things off. New hot fiction. So Danielle Steele has one coming out in August. This one's about a loving mother and successful fashion designer who struggles to keep her family together and her business afloat. James Patterson has co-written one with Emily Raymond. This one's about a brave straight-A student who commits a shocking act at her prestigious high school. I'm guessing it involves fire, but I can't tell you for sure. In The Surrogate Mother, which is Frida McFadden's new one, a woman gets more than she bargains for when her personal assistant offers to serve as her surrogate. And then We Are All Guilty Here is the first in a new mystery series by Karen Slaughter. It's set in a small town, and in this first installment, 2 teenage girls go missing on the same night. The Locked Ward is about a glamorous woman who is accused of killing the biological daughter of the wealthy Southern family that adopted her when she was a newborn. Hello, come on in. And then Catabasis by R.F. Kuang is a new dark academia fantasy in which 2 graduate students must put aside their rivalry and journey to hell to save their professor's soul, perhaps at the cost of their own. And yes, Lisa Gardner has one coming out called Kiss Her Goodbye. This is the latest in her Frankie Elkin series, in which Frankie is called to Arizona to find a missing Afghan refugee whose friend suspects she is in grave danger. And then last but not least, we have Departure 37 by Scott Carson, the same Scott Carson that's going to come visit us in August. And this one is a suspenseful dual timeline novel that switches between a Cold War espionage story and a contemporary horror story. The setup is that on a clear day, hundreds of pilots refuse to fly after receiving mysterious calls from their mothers, some of whom are long dead.
Best-selling nonfiction. The first we have is The Story of CO2 is the story of everything. CO2 is a seemingly ubiquitous substance that is simple and responsible for both the splendor of our world and its potential destruction. The sharp and lyrically written narrative nonfiction seeks to give you a deeper understanding of this essential building block of life. King of Kings tells the astonishing story of a dictator blind to the disdain of his subjects and a superpower blundering into disaster. It's the story of the Iranian hostage crisis. This book is being described as a sharply written page-turning history that exposes the world-shattering gravity of the crisis and its ripples that are still felt today. Tonight in Jungleland is described as a treasure trove of previously untold stories about the creation of the groundbreaking Bruce Springsteen album Born to Run, showcasing defining moments in what would become his legendary career. It also coincides with the 50th anniversary of the album's release. Blessings and Disasters is a perspective-shifting memoir that is both intimate and journalistic, telling the story of Alexis, who is a daughter of Nigerian immigrants growing up in Montgomery, Alabama, a former seat of the Confederacy, and the complexity of histories and lived experience. The Black Family Who Built America is the riveting story of the McKissacks family, founder of the leading Black design and construction firm in the United States from the start of its founding. Moses McKissack I, who was captured in West Africa and enslaved in North Carolina, and its thriving status today. It's described as a moving celebration of resilience and innovation. James Baldwin, A Love Story, is drawn from extensive new archival materials. This is being described as a spellbinding biography that reveals how James Baldwin's relationships shaped his work and his indelible impact on the civil rights movement and on Black and queer literary history today. Could, should, might, don't is described as an invaluable guide for how to think and how not to think about the future from an individual who has been guiding missions of companies such as Sony, Nokia, Dyson, and even Google. After being hidden away behind non-disclosure agreements for years, he is finally able to break this silence. A truce that is not peace is described as an exploration of the uneasy pact every creative person makes with memory. It is wildly innovative yet masterfully controlled, stylishly casual yet momentously heart-wrenching and joyful. This is Miriam Powell at her dazzling best, making her world and inventing a brilliant literary form in which to contain it. And that sums up our new nonfiction bestselling. Our first, getting straight into the list, fiction title is Jenny Cooper Has a Secret. This is told about 76-year-old Linda, who is reeling from multiple earth-shattering events at home. She decides to escape the tension by visiting her friend at Legacy Palace, which is a memory care facility. Here, Linda meets 92-year-old Jenny Cooper. Cooper confesses to Linda to having killed numerous people. When a patient dies under mysterious circumstances, Linda will have to figure out if Jenny's secret is real or the musings of a departing mind in this intricately plotted psychological thriller. So both of my read-alikes focuses on older ladies taking matters into their old hands and not afraid to get them dirty. The first read-alike I have is An Elderly Lady Must Not Be Crossed. In this is actually the second in this series. 88-year-old Maud has never been looking for trouble, yet it always seems to find her. Ultimately, untimely endings seem to follow her everywhere, and the authorities of her town are becoming suspicious. Maud decides to embark on a trip to South Africa, just in the nick of time. This is a collection of 6 interlocking stories about Maud's past. It's described as darkly humorous, slightly gritty, with a unique and charmingly dangerous protagonist. It's mostly lighthearted, I've been told. And then we have Killers of a Certain Age. Billy, Mary Alice, Helen, and Natalie spent their lives as deadly assassins, but now they're in their 60s and retirement is on their horizon. When the ladies are sent on an all-expenses-paid vacation to celebrate their retirement, it quickly becomes clear that something is amiss in this action-packed thriller full of twists and turns. And then we have People Like Us by Jason Mott. In this new title of his, 2 Black writers are trying to find peace and belonging in a world riddled with gun violence. As their experiences in publishing merge, truth and strange happenings swirl around them in this wickedly funny and emotionally intense novel about joy, love, loss, and longing. It's described as an electric novel bursting with larger-than-life characters and with a fancifully memoiric style, I did not make up that word, that showcases Mott's ability to make readers laugh and cry in equal measure. The first read-alike I have is Erasure by Percival Everett, because of its exploration of the experiences of Black writers in publishing. In this one, our protagonist is Monk, who is a Black man and an author of several underrated books. He gets irritated and decides to write a satirical version of what publishing is referring to as authentic African American experiences under a pseudonym, because surely no one will ever publish this book. To his great surprise, it becomes a bestseller. This book is a layered, issue-oriented story that explores how publishing attempts to define African American literature and commodify Black experiences. Sharply written, this book is a thought-provoking and humor-filled romp with well-developed characters. And then the next book I have, unfortunately, we only have an e-copy of this book, is Hell of a Book by Jason Mott as well. It's being described from several of the reviews of people like us as a good primer for continuing that story. It also gives you a good opportunity to become acquainted with his voice and his style.
So this is a debut mystery. It's about a book conservator who teams up with a mysterious woman claiming to be Agatha Christie to catch the killer. So Tori, the main character, works in Manhattan's Mystery Guild Library, and one day she happens upon a woman in the library's Christie room, no less, who claims to be Agatha Christie herself, and also says that she has come to help solve a murder that has not yet happened. When Tori's actress cousin gets caught up in the death of her talent agent, Tori is no longer able to write the woman off as just a nutty Christie superfan. Aided by an unlikely band of fellow sleuths, including a snarky librarian, an 11-year-old computer whiz, and an NYPD detective with terrible taste in suits, Tori and the woman claiming to be her very much deceased literary idol begin to unravel the twists and turns of a murderer's devious mind. And the read-alikes both are historical mysteries that incorporate Agatha Christie into the story. Murder at Malvern Hall is the first in a mystery series in which the main character is Agatha Christie's housekeeper. And The Queens of Crime, which I think just came out either early this year or the end of last year, by Mary Benedict, is the story of the 5 greatest women writers of the golden age of mystery, which one of whom is Agatha Christie, and their bid to solve a real-life murder. LA Women is about the complicated friendship between 2 ambitious women in 1960s and 70s Los Angeles. Lane and Gala meet amidst the glittering 1960s LA party scene. Lane is a writer and a Hollywood outsider. Gala is a charming socialite. The women are drawn to each other, but there is a tension in the relationship due to rivalry and jealousy. After their paths diverge, Lane scores a book deal to write a novel based on Gala's life. But Gala disappears before Lane finishes the manuscript, and Lane becomes obsessed with finding her friend. The novel employs a non-linear story structure, jumping backward and forward over a decade, which effectively illustrates the evolution of the women's relationship. The interpersonal drama and vivid depictions of the era's social scene make for compelling reading. A couple of read-alikes. Rise and Shine is also a novel about focusing on 2 women, this time 2 sisters. Talks about the true meaning of success and the qualities in life that matter most. And Tapestry of Fortunes also touches on similar themes. It's about 4 women exploring their pasts. It's a portrait of how women grow through the relationships that define them, and a testament to the power of female friendship.
Good afternoon, ladies.
Hi, Ash.
Hi. Too Old for This by Samantha Downing. Best-selling author. Comes a wickedly entertaining thriller about secrets that won't stay buried and a killer who's not quite done yet. Lodi Jones has spent decades hiding in plain sight once a notorious serial killer, she reinvented herself and settled into the quiet life of a small town retiree, where bingo nights and garden gossip are her only thrills. That is, until investigative journalist Plum Dixon knocks on her door asking dangerous questions about Lodi's past and the trail of unsolved murders she's left behind. Lodi knows the rules: no witnesses, no loose ends, but it's been years since her last kill, and pulling off the perfect murder isn't as easy as it used to be, especially when the bodies start piling up again. Bad Men by Julie Cohen is a read-alike. Safi Huntley Oliver is elegant, brilliant, and effortlessly charming. She's also been quietly eliminating the worst men in society for the past 15 years. Rapists, abusers, murderers, if they slip through the cracks, Safi makes sure they don't stay free for long. Living a double life has its downsides, mainly loneliness. It's hard to date when your next boyfriend might be your next target, but when Safi discovers true crime podcaster John Dos Rosier, she thinks she may have finally found someone worth falling for. John's famous for solving cold cases and fighting for justice, exactly Safi's type. And This Girl's a Killer by Emma C. Wells. Cordelia Black has three great loves: her fierce, loyal, found family, her genius hairdresser, and ridding the world of terrible men. By day, she's a rising star in pharmaceutical sales, polished, professional, and impeccably dressed. By night, she serves as South Louisiana's unseen reckoning, targeting men who've slipped through the cracks of the justice system. The local news may whisper about a serial killer, but Cordelia knows better. She's not a killer, she's karma in heels. Love at First Sighting by Mallory Marlowe. In Los Angeles, an influencer named Elle Martin seems to have it all: glamour, followers, and a curated life of perfection. But beneath the filters, she's craving something real, something that makes her pulse quicken in a way fame never could. She never imagined that spark would come from filming a mysterious, unidentified flying object, or from the enigmatic government agent who keeps turning up wherever she goes. Agent Carter Brody is juggling two missions: modernizing the outdated private intelligence sector and pursuing his true passion, investigating unexplained phenomena. Just like his late father. When he's assigned to Elle's case, Carter is immediately intrigued, not just by her sharp instincts and self-assured presence, but by the eerie resemblance between her sighting and one of his own past that changed everything. As Elle and Carter delve deeper into the truth behind the strange encounter, their connection grows just as intense, but as mysteries give way to revelations, the biggest surprise may be how real their feelings become. No aliens required. Real likes are going to be Heart Marks the Spot by Libby Hubsher, Treasure Hunters Stella Moore dreams of love, success, and adventure, but reality rarely cooperates. During her summer expedition in Iceland, a spark with brooding novelist Huck Sullivan leads to an unforgettable night and a painful ghosting. A year later, Huck's turned their story into a best-selling novel, and Stella is trying to move on with a new hunt off Key West. But when Huck unexpectedly returns, hoping to write a sequel and maybe win her back, they'll have to navigate old wounds, sunken ships, and the truth behind his disappearance to uncover a treasure worth more than gold. And finally, a romance for me, Roll for Romance by Lenora Woods. After losing her job, Sadie Brooks escapes to small-town Texas. For the summer, where joining her best friend's Dungeons & Dragons campaign offers a welcome distraction. As she plays Jaylee, a lucky cleric, Sadie starts to fall for Noah Walker, the charming bartender cast as a flirtatious bard. Their in-game chemistry quickly sparks real-life feelings, but when a new job opportunity calls her back to New York, Sadie must decide if her future lies in chasing old dreams or taking a chance on something new. Read anything with TV. Maybe.
All right, and then next we have The Witch's Orchard by Archer Sullivan. This is an atmospheric series opener that introduces you to PI Annie Gore, who finds herself taking a 10-year-old missing persons case in an Appalachian mountain town similar to where she was raised. She doesn't want to take it, but she needs the money. As she begins to navigate a decade's worth of secrets, grudges, and folklore, something stirs in the dark, and echoes of the past long buried begin to sound in this gripping, gothic, hair-raising mystery. The first read-alike I have is Jackal by Aaron Adams, because of its similar themes of children going missing and things being unspoken in small towns. This is the chilling story of a white town in the Rust Belt where young black girls go missing in the woods. There is an evil in the forest and it is creeping closer. This is a fast-paced, atmospheric, and thought-provoking thriller and mystery. The other read-alike I have is Local Women Missing by Mary. I did look it up, I swear on how to pronounce her name. Mary Public. This also has a similar premise of people going missing and people returning after a long period of time. In this, several women and girls go missing, shattering the peace of a quiet community and spreading fear everywhere. 11 years later, one of the missing girls shockingly returns and everyone wants to know what happened to her, but no one is prepared for what they will find. This is described as a smart, chilling thriller full of twists and turns, and it is strongly recommended to read with all the lights on in the middle of the day. Yeah, I have a few like that on this list. Next, switching tone again, we have Indian Country. This is a bold, ambitious, yet brutal novel about colonialism and westward expansion that ripples through time. It centers around an Indian couple, Javeen and Sagar, who come together as the result of an unwanted arranged marriage. The couple ends up moving to Montana after Sagar accepts a job to help dismantle a dam. The couple has barely settled in to their new life when it is completely upended after a body is found. This novel is further described as having an immersive and lyrical style that really has a strong sense of place. The first read-alike I have is Namesake. This also has a similar premise of a newly married couple, the result of an arranged marriage, transplanting to the United States and having their lives completely upended. In this, the couple finds themselves navigating a vexing crossroads between their new life, some of its painful realities, and wanting to remain true to their older customs and traditions. It's described as a poignant, thought-provoking story about place and connection with immersive lyrical prose as well. The other read-alike I have is The Story Hour. This is a similar look at how heritage and history ripple through time and define and shape us. In this, Maggie is a psychologist, and she is very careful to maintain emotional distance from her patients. But when she meets Lakshmi, an Indian woman who has recently moved to the area, they develop a quick friendship. The two start sharing long-buried secrets, and the revelations threaten to jeopardize everything they know. It is described as a profound, heartbreakingly honest novel about the shape that the past takes throughout our lives. No, is that still me? No, that is not.
Forget Me Not by Stacey Willingham. 22 years after her sister Natalie vanished, Claire Campbell has done everything she can to outrun the past, until a call from her father draws her back to coastal South Carolina. With a long summer ahead and tension at home, Claire takes a job at a seemingly peaceful Galloway farm at a vineyard not far from where Natalie was last seen. But when Claire discovers a decades-old diary hidden on the property, what begins as a tale of young love soon reveals disturbing connections to a string of unsolved crimes and possibly to Natalie's disappearance. As Claire digs deeper, she becomes consumed by the secrets buried at Galloway and the chilling possibility that the vineyard holds answers she's been searching for all her life. What was meant to be a quiet escape becomes a descent into the past she thought she'd left behind. Guy of the Woods, I felt, was very strong read-alike. If you haven't read it yet, in 1975, Barbara Van Moor vanishes from her bunk at an elite summer camp owned by her own family. Her disappearance sends shockwaves through the community, not only because of her status, but because it echoes a haunting family tragedy. Her older brother also vanished from the same property 14 years prior. As the search intensifies, long-buried secrets from both the privileged Van Moor dynasty and the working-class townspeople they employ begin to surface. Tensions rise, loyalties are tested, and the line between past and present blurs in a community haunted by its history. I highly recommend bringing in a notepad to keep track of everything in this. It bounces a lot. It's so good, though. It ties up. It's good. All the Colors of the Dark by Chris Whitaker. When a girl from a prominent family is nearly taken, an unexpected hero steps forward. Patch, a local boy whose brave act changes everything. But saving her comes at a cost, and the ripples of that moment reach far beyond what anyone could imagine. As the town reels and secrets surface, Patch and those closest to him must confront painful truths about love, loss, and the thin lines between heroism and heartbreak. Part missing person mystery, part serial killer thriller, and part haunting love story, Chris Whitaker's novel explores the darkness that hides in obsession and the flickers of hope that refuse to be extinguished.
Anywhere with You is a heartwarming romance about a type A woman who road trips through the Minnesotan woods with her non-committal childhood best friend, only for their long-suppressed sparks to start flying. Young, recently divorced Charlie Beekman is determined to help her sister realize she's making a mistake by eloping with her on-again, off-again childhood sweetheart. So with the help of her friend Ethan and his camper van, Charlie ventures off to try and stop the wedding. Palmer explores topics like parental estrangement, abandonment, and sibling relationships, which gives depth to the sweet and funny friends to lovers romance. So for a couple other kind of more lighthearted romance books, Abby Jimenez is a best-selling author that writes in that vein. In Just for the Summer, a couple planning to only have a short summer fling end up with more than they bargained for when their families get involved and they catch real feelings for each other. And in Any Trope But You, a cynical romance author falls for the rugged proprietor of the Alaskan resort she has fled to in order to reinvent herself. So For Duck's Sake is the latest in the long-running Meg Langslow cozy mystery series by Donna Andrews. Meg Langslow is a blacksmith from Yorktown, Virginia. And in this latest, she's spending some time at her brother's house in order to escape the chaos of her own home, which has become the staging ground for the first annual Mutt March, which I guess is probably some kind of pet parade. I don't know. But her brother is having a duck pond dug out on his property. And the peaceful day that Meg was hoping for is interrupted when the bulldozer unearths a skeleton with a bullet hole in its skull. Meg offers to help the police identify the remains, doing research into the library and talking to old timers. The former property owner has suspiciously gone missing after the discovery of the skeleton, which adds to the mystery and Meg's eagerness to get to the bottom of it. If you like Donna Andrews, you'll probably also like these two authors. Susan Wittig Albert, Forget Me Never is her latest. This is another long-running cozy mystery series about a former big city lawyer now working as an owner of a small town herbal shop in Texas. And Killing Time is the latest in MC Beaton's Agatha Raisin series. These are light, humorous mystery novels about a middle-aged private detective in rural England.
Next we have The Break-In by Catherine Faulkner. In this, Alice is hosting a play date when a seemingly disturbed man breaks in. With her child and her friend and her child's friend in the next room, Alice panics and kills the man. As she tries to come to terms with what has happened, she has drawn down a trail of dark secrets, and the intruder may have been closer to her family than she could have possibly imagined. This is an intricately plotted, gripping thriller full of twists and turns that you won't see coming. Now, both of my read-alikes involve mothers and sinister trails of secrets and that sort of a thing. For anyone who's been around me at all in the last year and a half, you will know that Night Watching by Tracy Sierra is one of my favorite books. I strongly recommend it. It starts with old houses make strange sounds, but that sounds like a heavy footfall on the stairs. Our unnamed protagonist is tucking her children in while a blizzard rages outside their New England home. When she realizes that they are not alone in the house. Together, she has to think quickly and figure out what to do to protect herself and her children. This is an emotionally intense, anxious, well-written thriller that talks about the lengths that mothers will go to protect themselves and their children. Strongly recommend it. It's very good. The other book I have is When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole, because of its very similar eerie tone, and again, trail of secrets. In this one, neighbors Sydney and Theo bond over their disgust of the gentrifying of their Brooklyn neighborhood. Together, they come up with an idea to help save it by creating a historical walking tour. As their research begins, they quickly spiral down a sinister road of secrets that hits too close to home. This is an intricately plotted story full of twists and turns and chilling thoughts as far as what is happening to their neighbors and their friends. Slightly more lighthearted, we have The Magicians of Tiger Castle by Louis, I've never known how to pronounce his last name, Sarkar, thank you. If you're familiar, this is actually his adult debut. He is known for writing YA novels, specifically the book Holes, if you are so inclined. This is being described as a whimsical story that centers around 3 unique and lovable characters. Tula, the princess, whose arranged marriage is essential to saving her kingdom's fragile alliance with a neighboring kingdom. The lowly scribe Pinto, whom she falls in love with about a month before her wedding, and the much maligned magician Anatole, who is being tasked with ensuring the princess's marriage. This is described as a bittersweet, quirky, cozy fantasy that draws you into a semi-magical Renaissance adjacent, if I could get all words out, that would be fantastic. Semi-magical Renaissance adjacent world with humor and heart. So both of my read-alikes are also of the cozy fantasy vein. One is slightly more lighthearted, that puts you into a fantasy England type of environment. The other is more court intrigue. The first one is Legends and Lattes. In this, Viv the Orc has been an adventurer all of her life, and and despite all of the excitement, she is tired. After trying a unique beverage made from running hot water through roasted beans, coffee, no worries, it happens. Coffee, she decides to open her own cafe in search of a quiet retirement. But as events unfurl, there is more excitement to be had in the cafe business than she thought. This is a feel-good, cozy fantasy with a large cast of lovable characters that is the perfect read to go with your morning cup of coffee. Next we have Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. And this is actually the third in this series. In this, Emily Wilde has spent her life studying the Fae folk, documenting hundreds of species of them in her encyclopedia. Now she is about to embark on a new academic project to gain better insights into their world by passing herself off as a fairy queen. Not quite all goes to plan, however, when one of the Fae people places a curse on the kingdom, leaving Emily and her fiancé to unravel the mystery before it's too late. This is described as a steady-paced, easy read with quirky, lovable characters, fun banter, and court intrigue. Perfect introduction to fantasy if you are so inclined.
Full Bloom is by Francesca Saratella, which follows Iris Sonnengren, a lighting designer in New York City who's reeling from a breakup and feeling invisible in both her personal and professional life. While her friends settle into marriage and motherhood, Iris is scraping by emotionally and financially, trying to preserve her future one frozen egg at a time. Then an unexpected gift from a mysterious French neighbor changes everything. A custom-made perfume that makes Iris irresistible. With a single spritz, she steps into a world of power, desire, and opportunity, finally able to chase everything she thought she wanted. But as the perfume unlocks her confidence, it also stirs old trauma, pulling Iris into a deeper mystery tied to her past. Set in the glittering, cutthroat worlds of high-end real estate and elite social circles, Full Bloom is a seductive, haunting novel that asks what happens when you finally become the person you've always wanted to be, and what might it cost you. A love song for Ricky Wilde by Tia Williams. Ricky Wilde has always felt like an odd one out in her powerful Atlanta family. Artistic, impulsive, and wildly romantic, she's ready to break free from expectations and chase a life of her own. When she's offered a chance to rent an apartment in Harlem, Ricky jumps at the opportunity to start fresh and finally open a flower shop of her dreams. But Harlem holds more than just a few new beginnings. As the spirit of the Harlem Renaissance lingers in the air, Ricky crosses paths with a captivating, mysterious stranger one magical night, and their connection feels as faded as it is electrifying. But this romance comes at a cost. Set against the backdrop of modern-day Harlem with echoes of its dazzling past. And The Unraveling of Julia by Lisa Strollini. Julia Pritzker's life is falling apart after losing her adoptive parents and then her husband to murder, an event her horoscope seemed to predict. She begins to question whether her fate is truly her own. When she unexpectedly inherits a Tucson villa from a stranger named Emily Rossi, Julia travels to Italy in search of answers about her past. There she learns Emilia believed she was descended from Renaissance noblewoman Caterina Sforza, and Julia's uncanny resemblance to both women is deeply unsettling. As Julia uncovers disturbing parallels between their lives, including a shared obsession with astrology, strange events begin to unfold. Haunted, hunted, and unsure of who to trust, Julia finds herself in a dangerous quest to identify truth and survive. Fanny Flagg has a new one called Something to Look Forward to. From Velma, a loving great-grandmother in Kansas trying to connect with her family across generations, to Helen in Ithaca, New York, who takes bold actions when her husband leaves her for someone younger. Flag introduces us to characters across America, from Wyoming to Milwaukee, Tucson, and beyond, each discovering unique paths to happiness. Meanwhile, Special Agent Frowley in Fort Wayne, Indiana, explores what it means to be human in his own unusual way. With humor, heart, and insight, Flag reflects the quirks, resilience, and inventiveness of everyday people, reminding us all to find joy and laughter amid life's challenges. My best bet at real likes for this were Vanishing Maps by Christina Garcia. Garcia revisits Del Pino family, now scattered across continents and grappling with fractured identities and the lingering ties to human heritage. Matriarch Celia de Pino remains in Havana, prepared for a long-awaited reunion with her former lover Gustavo. Her grandson Ivanto is haunted by memories of his mother, and in Los Angeles, Pilar Puente struggles as a single mother and sculptor, while in Moscow, their cousin Irina leads a life of luxury as a lingering lingerie mogul, yet remains isolated, disconnected in her roots. I think this is a kind of a sequel. Kitchens of the Great Midwest by Jerry Ryan Stradall. When Lars' wife leaves him for a sommelier, he's left to raise their infant daughter alone. Eva, with nothing but his love for food and big dreams for her future. From her first taste of pureed pork shoulder to her own culinary creations, Eva's life is shaped by flavor, resilience, and the landscapes of her native Minnesota. As she grows up, navigating heartache, ambition, and unlikely connections, Eva's passion for food blossoms into a legendary underground summer club. Each dish she creates tells a story of where she's been, who she's loved, and what she's lost.
I know how this ends is a charming, funny book that asks the question, if you could see your future, how would you live now? 35-year-old Margot Wayward has just had a 10-year relationship implode and is living in total chaos. But one day she has a vision of herself with a man she has never met before, and the vision comes true when she meets single dad Henry. The visions continue, and Margot realizes there's nothing she can do to change these glimpses of her future, and she has to decide how to live, how to love again, and how to be herself. According to one reviewer, Holly Smale tackles the what-if scenario with a fresh take and really clever plot twists that will keep you hooked until the final page, a true delight from cover to cover. Similar reads would include The Husbands, which is a novel about a woman who one day comes home to find her attic is magic and producing an endless supply of interchangeable husbands. I think that one came out last year. And then The Wedding People is a darkly humorous story about a woman at rock bottom who finds a new start interacting with wedding guests at the inn she has booked for one last decadent splurge on herself. So both kind of humorous stories about women exploring relationships and life.
This is The Incredible Kindness of Paper. This is a feel-good novel about two childhood friends, Chloe and Oliver, who find themselves magically linked through origami flowers as adults. This book explores the dangers of monetizing kindness and the importance of spreading hope for hope's sake. It is also further described as a big-hearted, easy read that is a perfect reminder to always look on the bright side of life. And I'm sorry, I cannot sing the Monty Python song, Bright Side of Life, for you. That would just be bad. You would look on the bad side of life if I did that. Anyway, so first relike I have is Homeseeking. In this, you also have similar setup of two childhood friends coming back together. In this, Hanwei and Suchi are teenage sweethearts in 1940s Shanghai. They are separated by war and circumstances, and decades later, they unexpectedly reunite in Los Angeles. As they rekindle their friendship, it feels like a second chance. But the past weighs heavily on their movements and this poignant, elegantly written story about life, love, and the ties that bind. The next relike I have is Normal People by Sally Rooney, also because of its connection between its premise of two teenagers and who becomes friends and then reconnect later on in life. In this, a strange and indelible connection grows between two teenagers in Ireland, despite their vastly different backgrounds and their families. The two continue to cross paths in college and are drawn back together as they begin to search for meaning and how far they will go to keep each other in their lives. This is a well-written, heartfelt book about crossing paths and how we become entangled in each other. And completely switching tones here. Remember I mentioned another one that you'd want to read with all the lights on in the middle of the day? This is The Possession of Alba Diaz. This is a chilling horror novel that centers around a young woman, Alba, who flees from a 1765 plague to her fiance's silver mines in Mexico. As she begins to settle into her new life and her new family, something violent and angry is making its way to the surface. This is full of dark tension, twists, turns, and generalized creepiness. And again, best to read with the lights on. The first read-alike I have is also by Isabel Canas, Vampires of El Norte. This is also a similarly paced story with a strong sense of place and a chilling atmosphere. It is set on the Texas-Mexico border in the 1840s. Vampires face off against cowboys. Our protagonist, Nena, knows a thing or two about monsters as the daughter of a rancher, but something more sinister than the intentions of the Anglo settlers starts streaming into the area. Something lurks near the ranch at night and drains the men of their blood, leaving them for dead. This is an atmospheric gothic western with a strong sense of place and just generally will give you the heebie-jeebies. Next, we have Hidden Pictures. This I selected because it also deals with possession and just generalized creepiness. In this, Mallory is fresh from rehab and has found a second chance after getting a job babysitting Teddy and Caroline Maxwell. Teddy, a sweet boy of 5, loves art and quickly bonds with Mallory. Teddy's art shifts from the usual childhood fare of bunny rabbits and trees to something more realistic and sinister, depicting scenes of a dead body. Mallory must figure out the source of these sinister drawings before it's too late in this creepy, atmospheric novel full of twists and turns.
Hemlock and Silver is Hugo Award-winning author T. Kingfisher's new book, and it is a twisted retelling of Snow White, filled with poison, secrets, and magical betrayal. Anya is a healer who drinks poison, not to die, but to find cures for those others have abandoned. Her quiet life, devoted to herbs and science, is upended when the king summons her to save his dying daughter, Snow. With the help of a reserved guard and a self-absorbed cat, Anya sets out to heal Snow. When conventional remedies fail, Anya discovers a hidden, enchanted world inside a magic mirror, one that may hold the answer to Snow's illness or unleash a far greater danger. In the same vein of Disney-esque story retellings. They're older Disney, but The Salt Grows Heavy by Cassandra Caw. You might think you know the story. A mermaid washes ashore and marries the prince, but the tale will leave out one crucial detail. Mermaids have teeth. Now, her daughters have ravaged the kingdom and reduced it to ashes. Fleeing for their lives, the mermaid is joined by a mysterious plague doctor harboring their own dark secrets. Together, they venture into a haunting, snow-covered forest where they discover a village of ageless, bloodthirsty children ruled by 3 enigmatic saints. To survive, the mermaid and the doctor must confront and embrace the darkest parts of themselves. And We Kept Her in the Cellar is a Cinderella retelling. Eunice lives by 3 rules: call Cinderella family, keep her away from rodents, and never look at her between midnight and 3 a.m. For years, Eunice has protected the family's terrifying secrets. Cinderella holds monstrous eldritch powers locked away in the cellar. But when Eunice befriends Prince Credence and earns a chance at freedom, everything unravels. Cinderella escapes, crashes the royal ball, and unleashes chaos, leaving only green glass slippers behind. My Other Heart by Emma Strenner. A missing child, 2 girls searching for their true selves, and a powerful story of mothers, daughters, and friendship. In June of 1998, Mimi Trong's world shatters when her toddler daughter disappears at Philadelphia airport as she returns to Vietnam. 17 years later, best friends Kit and Sabrina are preparing for summer before college in Chestnut Hill, Pennsylvania. Supported by her adoptive parents, Kit plans a trip to Tokyo to explore her Japanese heritage, discovering first love and a deeper sense of belonging. Sabrina, unable to afford a trip to China, finds a new mentor who challenges her to confront the questions she's long avoided. When Mimi, Kit, and Sabrina's paths finally cross, they must face their past and embrace who they truly are. This deeply moving novel builds to a stunning climax you won't forget. The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. The Vignes twins are identical in appearance, but as they grow into adulthood, their lives take radically different paths. After fleeing their small southern black community at 16, one sister returns years later to raise her daughter in the same town she once tried to leave behind. The other has built a new life, passing as a white woman, her husband unaware of her true heritage. Though separated by distance and secrecy, the lives of the sisters remain deeply connected, especially as their daughters' paths begin to cross. And in Believers by Lisa Ko, one morning, Deming Guo's mother, an undocumented Chinese immigrant named Polly, goes to her job at the nail salon and never comes home. No one can find any trace of her. With his mother gone, 11-year-old Deming is left with no one to care for him. He is eventually adopted by 2 white college professors who move him from the Bronx to a small town upstate. They rename him Daniel in their efforts to make him over into their version of an all-American boy, but far away from all he's ever known, Daniel struggles to reconcile his new life with his mother's disappearance and the memories of the family and community he left behind.
Starting from here is set in the early 1970s. It's about a teenage girl with dreams of becoming a dancer who was sent away from her home in Rapid City, South Dakota to train and pursue that dream. Renee does all she can to excel in dancing while at the same time navigating new situations and finding her way through the trials of adolescence. Saunders draws the reader in with understatement, showing how the emotionally intelligent Renee reads the world and tries tries to find her place in it. This tender coming-of-age tale is worth a look, says one review. So this is a coming-of-age story about a young woman facing challenges of girlhood, themes of family. The two read-alikes that I have are also about young women navigating adolescence. Mary Jane is about a 14-year-old girl who is coming of age in the 1970s. This one's set in Baltimore. And she's caught between her straight-laced family and the progressive family she nannies for, who happens to be secretly hiding a famous rock star and his movie star wife for the summer. And in Wee Pretty Pieces of Flesh, this one's a story about lifelong friends navigating the complexities of adolescence. And it's set in a gritty post-industrial town in the 1990s.
This here is Love by Princess Joy L. Perry. In 1690s, Tidewater, Virginia, Bless is born into slavery and forced to serve her masters, facing harsh realities and her mother's fierce protection, learning that cruelty can come from all sides. David, the son of a freed father, clings to the hope of promised freedom, while Jack, a poor Scots-Irish boy bound for indentured servitude, struggles as his dreams shatter during a brutal journey to America. Despite their different paths, each will fight to claim love and forge their own destiny. Princess Joy L. Perry, Hurston Wright Award winner, tells a powerful, untold story of survival and resilience. This here is Love asks profound questions. How far would you go to protect your children from bondage? How do you rebuild family after losing your own? And what matters more, a hard-fought chance at freedom or preserving your humanity? A gripping debut from a remarkable new voice, this novel explores the fierce will to love and endure against impossible odds. Let Us Descend by Jasmine Ward is a powerful reimagining of American slavery, a deeply moving journey through pain, memory, and spirit. At its heart is Anne, a teenage girl sold by the white enslaver who is also her father, forced to march from the rice fields of the Carolinas to the brutal sugar plantations of Louisiana. Anne clings to the stories of her warrior grandmother and the love of her mother to survive. Along the way, Anne begins to encounter a world beyond the physical, spirits rooted in land, myth, and ancestral memory. These unforeseen forces accompany her through suffering, guiding her not just through a descent into darkness, but towards something deeper. And The American Queen by Vanessa Miller is based on true events. In the aftermath of slavery, a new kingdom quietly rises in America's South, and Luella becomes its queen. After 24 years enslaved at the Montgomery plantation, Luella has known nothing but pain, loss, and a deep consuming hatred. She has lost her parents to the cruelty of the enslavement, and love seems like a luxury she can't afford. Even when she marries the kind and principled Reverend William, her heart remains guarded. But everything changes when William finally answers Luella's long-held plea to lead their people to freedom. Together, they guide a group of formerly enslaved men and women in search of a place where they can live with dignity without fear.
Sheepdogs is a fast-paced comic spy thriller featuring an unlikely spy duo. Squirrel is a former CIA paramilitary operator. That's a nickname. Cheese, another nickname, a former Afghan pilot of legendary skill. Both men are down on their luck and decide to take a chance on a high-stakes heist, repossessing a private jet in Africa for an anonymous client called Sheepdog. As the mission goes sideways, the men find themselves navigating a dangerous and confusing labyrinth of lies and hidden agendas. The action takes place in multiple locales, and the novel has a colorful supporting cast. Ackerman, a former Marine, holds a funhouse mirror up to classic grizzled soldier narratives while grounding the Luby proceedings with real stakes for his characters. The result is riotous entertainment. So for more in humorous action thrillers, Whiskey Tango Foxtrot is a suspenseful global thriller and satire, so maybe a little bit different variety of humor here. But this is about a small group of young adults who form an organization aimed at fighting the powers that be. This is a different Whiskey Tango Foxtrot than the one they made a movie out of with Tina Fey. Didn't realize there was two different books with that same title, but keep that in mind. And then at least one reviewer compared Sheepdogs to the writing of Carl Hyacin, who is known for humorous books with gonzo action humor. This one's about a dim-witted Proud Boys reject who becomes entangled in a bizarre web of corruption. That's his latest book. And The Harvey Girls is historical fiction set in the 1920s. Harvey Girls were waitresses who served in America's first hospitality train on the Santa Fe Railroad. There was a guy named Fred Harvey who owned restaurants along the route and hired young single women to staff them. And so in this novel, two women, Charlotte and Billy, from different backgrounds, develop a friendship working as Harvey Girls. Wealthy Charlotte is on the run from her abusive husband, and underage Billy is trying to help support her large family. Together they learn the hospitality trade and ultimately end up working the luxurious El Tovar Hotel at the Grand Canyon. It's a deeply moving novel with complex human characters and themes of female empowerment, loyalty, and friendship. In a similar vein, Fifth Avenue Glamour Girl, set in 1940s New York. It's also a book about female friendship. This one reimagines the life of Estee Lauder through the eyes of a fictional close friend who helps her become successful in the fashion world. And The Divorcees is another historical fiction set in 1950s Reno at a divorce ranch. This one explores the complex friendship between two women who dare to imagine a different future.
Thank you for that. And we are on to the nonfiction. This first one is Between Two Rivers. It is about Mesopotamia, which is one of the earliest known civilizations that went on to influence societies around the world. Mesopotamia is also known for developing the earliest known writing system, i.e. cuneiform, and they were also the first to start recording their own history. Each chapter of this accessible, meticulously researched book explores aspects of ancient life through the objects that they left behind. Though it is not true narrative nonfiction, it is described as narratively styled and immersive, taking you into the deep past. Both of my read-alikes have to do with other aspects of history around ancient Mesopotamia. The first one, The Mesopotamian Riddle, is about the journey and shenanigans of deciphering cuneiform and all of the different things that went into it. This language was used by Sumer, Assyria, and the Babylonians, as well as some other empires nearby. It's described as whisking you away on a real-life adventure full of unlikely twists and turns and unique individuals. The next, The Land Between the Rivers. This is actually a very popular theme title for histories about this part of the world. Explores the ancient history of the land where civilization was born, beginning with Sumer and Gilgamesh and the building of the city of Uruk. Sounds familiar. Through the death of the royal family of Iraq in 1958.
What's that author, please?
So the author of the book that is coming out in August is Mohadi al-Rashid. The Mesopotamian Riddle is Joshua Hammer, and then The Land Between the Rivers is Barney Bowl.
We Should All Be Birds by Brian Buckby. On a spring evening in Montana. Oh, sorry. This is the start of our nonfiction. Is that correct? Did you just do?
I just did the first nomination.
Oh, I'm talking out my butt here. We Should All Be Birds by Brian Buckby. On a spring evening in Montana, Brian Buckby finds an injured baby pigeon whom he names Two-Step. Just as he's grappling with heartbreak and a mysterious illness that has left him unable to read or write, what begins as a simple act of rescue grows into a chaotic bird rehabilitation center in his home, offering Brian an unexpected source of connection and hope. As Two-Step heals and discovers love, Brian's own condition deteriorates, forcing him to confront the fragile nature of life and what lies ahead. We Should All Be Birds is Brian's powerful story told through dictated words and shaped with the help of editor Carol Ann Fitzgerald, revealing the raw reality of chronic illness, grief, and healing. This poignant memoir explores the profound bond between man and pigeon, a relationship that teaches us about love, suffering, and the vastness of the world we inhabit, even through the smallest creatures. The Backyard Bird Chronicles by Amy Tan is a radiant and reflective journey into the world just outside her window through a series of daily observations, insightful musings, and her own delicate sketches. Amy Tan invites readers to rediscover the quiet wonder of nature hiding in plain sight. Amid the turbulence of 2016, a year marked by political division, online hostility, and growing unease, Tan sought refuge in the simple act of watching birds in her backyard. And H is for Hawk by Helen MacDonald. From a young age, Helen was captivated by the world of falconry, immersing herself in its obscure language and classic text, especially T.H. White's The Goshawk. Years later, devastated by the sudden death of her father, Helen turns to that childhood passion as a form of solace. She purchases a fierce goshawk named Mabel for £800 on a dock in Scotland and retreats to her home in Cambridge. Isolating herself from the world, she begins the intense and often bewildering process of training one of nature's most untamable creatures.
Anatomy of a Con Artist goes over 14 red flags to help you identify scammers before they take advantage of you. So when the author, Jonathan Walton, was himself scammed out of $100,000 and got no help from law enforcement, he used his investigative experience as a TV reporter to make the case against his scammer by himself, and successfully got her convicted. And for what it's worth, he apparently made a podcast about it called The Queen of the Con. Now he helps other victims, and this book is based on hundreds of real-life cases that he has investigated. Book list says this is no generic guide written by someone who did a little research. This is a comprehensive, passionate, incredibly detailed book written by someone who has been through it himself. For fans of crime nonfiction, indeed for anyone who wants to be prepared for any eventuality, it's a must-read. So these next two books are also written by people who experienced real-life scams. There is no Ethan is a woman's personal account of 3 women coming face to face with an internet predator and teaming up to expose them. And My Friend Anna is about the author's friendship with a woman posing as a German heiress who conned her out of $62,000 and her quest to obtain justice. The Colonel and the King is a dual biography of Elvis Presley and his manager, Colonel Tom Parker. It draws on never-before-seen letters of Parker's. Parker was born in the Netherlands, but eventually moved to the U.S. illegally, changed his name, and worked in carnivals where he got his foundational experience as a promoter. He discovered Elvis in 1955 and became his longtime manager, even managing his estate after his death. Parker has previously been cast as a villain who exploited Elvis, but Goralnik dispels this image, describing Parker as a hardworking, honest manager who cared about his client. This book brought to mind Elvis and the Colonel by Graham McDonald that just came out 2 or 3 years ago, also offering a contrarian and corrective point of view regarding Tom Parker. And this one is written by someone who worked under Parker for years. And Peter Goralnik also wrote a biography of singer Sam Cooke. It covers his rapid rise to stardom and his reinvention of rhythm and blues as soul music. And I'll just mention that this author has also written a hefty 2-volume biography of Elvis Presley. So if you're really into Elvis, maybe check that out before you read this new one. So.
The Undiscovered Country by Paul Andrew Hutton. This is a new narrative nonfiction that aims to strip away the myths of the West and reveal the true story of America's first forays throughout the West, from the forests of Pennsylvania to the crests of the Sierra. It's described as masterfully chronicling the stories that define America and its people through meticulous research. Both of my relikes have to do with different aspects of history of the West and aim for some myth busting in there as well. The first is the gunfighters. This sifts truth from legends and weaves together histories of some of the most infamous gunfighters of the West to immerse you into a world of hustlers, gamblers, and freelance lawmen. I'm sorry.
A lot of great pictures.
Yes, there are. I was actually about to mention. It is described as meticulously researched, well illustrated with lots of historical pictures, and it is important for understanding of different dimensions of America's past, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And then the other is The American West, edited by Dean Alexander Brown. This is a collection of essays from a variety of experts on Western history to paint a vivid life of what the realities of life was in the West.
Another memoir, Backstage by Donna Leone. The bestseller pulls back the curtain on her life as a writer, offering a captivating glimpse into the creative mind behind beloved Commissario Guido Brunetti series, while her previous memoir explored her rich personal journey from growing up in New Jersey to traveling the world and falling in love with Venice. Backstage focuses on her literary influences and writing process. Leon pays tribute to crime fiction greats Ruth Riddell and Ross MacDonald, delves into her admiration for Great Expectations and the work of Sir Walter Scott, and reflects on the painstaking research that brings authenticity to her novels, from diamonds to human trafficking. With wit and warmth, she recounts anecdotes from her time as a teacher, her Venetian encounters, and the chance moments that sparked entire plots. Whether she's describing a noisy neighbor or an impromptu visit to a Frank Zappa concert, Leon proves herself as engaging a storyteller in nonfiction as she is in fiction. Other memoirs by writers, starting with Stephen King, his On Writing, a memoir of the craft. On Writing blends memoir and masterclass from one of the world's most iconic storytellers. Part personal journey, part practical guide, Stephen King shares the lessons he's learned about the writing life, lessons shaped by a childhood filled with imagination, a career that changes with rejection slips, and a near fatal accident that reaffirmed his connection to the craft. With clarity, humor, and unflinching honesty, King offers invaluable advice on everything from developing your voice to editing with intention, all grounded in his experiences as a writer. Drawing from thousands of letters, manuscripts, and notebooks, Pulitzer Prize-winning biographer Ron Chernow brings to life the remarkable story of Mark Twain, America's first literary celebrity and one of the most influential voices. Twain's journey took him from the banks of the Mississippi to the heart of American culture. Chernow traces his rise from steamboat pilot and silver miner to beloved humorist, political commentator, and the author of classics like Tom Sawyer and Huckleberry Finn.
Thank you so much. That wraps up this month's Books in Focus. We'll see you on August 12th for the next one, where we'll be talking about books coming out in September. So please feel free to stop by the main desk to put holds on any books you are interested in. If you need help finding any of the read-alouds that we talked about, we can grab those for you too. And thank you so much for coming. Also, if you have slips or if you need them for the adult summer reading program entries, Ashley's coming around with extra slips, and if you can also collect those too, we'll get you entered for all the fun prizes.